Hello, dear friends. I hope you're doing really well. This video is not about a reading. This is my last video that I want to talk about the rapture of the church in September 23 and 24 of this year, which is next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday. I want to say one last thing, okay? And obviously, this is what I think, I believe, I made my conclusion, and I'm going to say why. Okay, well, first, why I support that. Why I support the testimony of Brother Joshua, this man from South Africa. First, even before I knew about that testimony, I already know, dear friends, that we are in the last days. I already know that. We are in the last of the last days. That I know. Second, I know that the day of the rapture is near because according to the prophecy in Hosea, the book of Hosea, in the Old Testament, chapter 6, where he says, "Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us, but he will heal us. He has wounded us, but he will bandage us. He will revive us after 2 days. He will raise us up on the third day." So the interpretation is that 2 days is 2,000 years. And Jesus Christ was probably crucified and resurrected. He resurrected on the year 32 AD, in the year 32, and so 2,000 years plus 32 will be 2032. The rapture has to happen before. The second coming would happen on the year 2032, and the rapture has to happen according to the interpretation that I support 7 years before. There are other interpretations. Some other interpretations say that he will have to come 3.5 years before the second coming, and other interpretations say there's no rapture. So according to the interpretation that I support is he would have the rapture have to happen 7 years before the second coming of Jesus Christ, right? So because of this prophecy, I already know that we are near that day. We're near, but I didn't know when. I didn't know when, and I always wondered, and I prayed. I would say, Father, are we gonna know? Are we gonna know a little bit before? Are we gonna know when it is, when that day is gonna be? Are we not, I'm not interested in the exact day and exact hour, but I said I always wonder, are we gonna know before? Are we gonna know maybe a day before or 2 days before the rapture? Are we gonna know? Maybe, I don't know. And and then I think towards the end of August, I heard about Brother Joshua, his testimony. Although I think he did that interview like 3 or 4 months ago this year, right? Even though he received the message many years, like 7 years ago or something. But I heard about that testimony and I saw it, and I listened to 2 or 3 interviews, and I paid attention, because we want to be careful, and I heard, and difference, I believed the testimony, and I'm going to tell you why I believe it. I believe his testimony that he says Jesus came to him in person and told him that the rapture will occur on September 23, 24 of 2025. Why do I believe, right? Why do I believe that? It seems so strange, right? And we always wonder, why do some people receive this visitation of Jesus, and some people see Jesus in dreams and visions, and some people receive the visitations, and why some others don't, right? I mean, we all should, right? I mean, but some people do and some people don't, and I don't know why. God knows why. It doesn't mean that the people that receive the visitations or the dreams are better. Not at all, dear friends. We're all sinners, but God knows. Okay, that's a God thing. I don't know why He does that. So why do I believe his testimony? Because I'm going to tell you why. Because when Joshua speaks about Jesus, about his visitation, how he talked to him, how he described him, how he described, his feelings, how he sensed him, how everything, how he felt, and how, all this interaction was. The way he describes all that, dear friends, is the same way I saw Jesus in a dream. It's the same. I saw Jesus in a dream last year. In a dream, not in person. It was just a dream. But in this dream, I was in his presence, dear friends. And the same way Joshua describes Jesus with his experience is the way it is. That's how Jesus is. It's very simple, right? But the way he talks about it, it's true. Because it's what I experienced in my dream is exactly the same. That's Jesus is all goodness and perfection and holiness, but humility too. It's like it's unbelievable that you are in the presence of somebody completely perfect, powerful, but yet humble. It's just the way it is. It's just so. That's why I believe his testimony. I always wonder why God gave me that dream, because who am I, right? Um, who am I? But that was the best dream I ever had in my life. Sometimes there is a human side in us that sometimes we question, we say, oh, was that dream from God or not? Because not all dreams are from God, right? But I know this dream. You know when it's from God. And that testimony of Joshua is the confirmation that my dream was from God, because the same way he describes, that's the same way it is. He is. Jesus is. And how we feel, how I feel, how you feel in his presence, is the best thing ever. Like I said before, you can have, we have so many blessings. Have families, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. Some people have grandchildren, and that's all awesome, wonderful. But being in the presence of God is way above all that. I mean, it's way higher, way above. It's something else. So that's why I believe him. I believe his testimony because of the dream that God gave me last year. I think it was in November of last year, and plus all the other things that I just said, and obviously, always consult. If you're not sure, ask God in your prayers. Is Joshua's testimony true or not? Ask in your prayers. God answers, dear friends. And it's better to be ready than not to be ready, because the tribulation is going to be horrific. Horrific. And you've probably seen, there are many confirmations in YouTube. Some seem not so powerful, but some are, And, find out, pray to God, look in the scripture, but ask God and he will answer. And he will tell you if what Brother Joshua has said about September 23 and 24 is true, I believe it's true. Sometimes I wonder, I think maybe nothing will happen, but no, dear friends. I believe it. And I already said why. So this is my last video about this issue, this situation. And I'll hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.